30 years ago, when the internet first took off, it felt like the beginning of a new era. Information was suddenly endless. The world should have opened up into a renaissance of curiosity and learning, but that isn't what happened. Instead, we've watched 30 years of academic decline. The ACT's 2023 National Profile Report shows that scores have fallen for 5 straight years, and only 21% of students met all college readiness benchmarks. On top of that, Business Insider's analysis shows that ACT scores have actually been declining for decades, not just recently. College professors are seeing it too. The College Board's 2024 report shows students arriving on campus less prepared, less consistent with attendance, more overwhelmed, and unable to handle the reading and writing loads that used to be standard. We have more tools than any generation before us, and yet somehow students are struggling more than ever. So the real question becomes why? And what do we do now? A big part of the problem is that students are still being taught passively. They're given content, but they aren't being asked to do anything meaningful with it. Cognitive load theory tells us that learning only sticks when students work with information actively, not when they just sit and listen. Vygotsky's social constructivism points us to the solution. Students learn best by interacting with content and with each other. Real growth requires collaboration, discussion, negotiation of meaning, and collective problem solving. But here's the catch. Classroom discussions don't work for many students. Students avoid speaking out for all kinds of reasons: shyness, fear of being wrong, English as a second language, or just not wanting to be publicly judged. What should be a powerful learning tool instead becomes a source of anxiety. But there's another problem. Students are not writing at the level they need to succeed. That is where the decline hits hardest. Colleges are reporting that writing is now one of the biggest barriers to student success. So we face two problems. Students need meaningful discussion, but they also need stronger writing skills. And ironically, the very thing that has distracted students for the last decade, social media, may be the key to solving both problems. This inspired the creation of Chatter, an anonymous school-based social network built specifically for educational discussions and writing development. Chatter took the addictive, familiar structure of platforms like TikTok and Discord and adapted it for learning. This right away lowers the cognitive load of students because they aren't learning a new tool. They're stepping into something that feels familiar and safe. The next key to success is that students are interacting with one another behind anonymous rotating usernames. This reduces the fear of judgment and lets them focus on their ideas. Furthermore, to help keep track of student work, everything is tied privately to their own unique student IDs, which allow teachers to still see who is doing what, but their peers are still left in the dark. Finally, all their content is automatically moderated in real time. So there's no personal information, no inappropriate behavior, and no unsafe interactions. And once they're inside the platform, something powerful really begins to happen. Students talk, students write, students think, students respond to one another, and they do it willingly because it feels natural. Now, at the center of Chatter is our AI-powered grammar gatekeeper, which is built on two major learning theories: operant conditioning, and instant feedback loops. With operant conditioning, students receive immediate reinforcement for meeting writing expectations, dings to signal that help is needed, or chimes for when mastery has occurred. Instant feedback loops, on the other hand, are where the dramatic increases in student writing capabilities will come from. No more waiting for days for papers to be returned and losing momentum. With instant feedback loops, learning is sticky. because the momentum, it's still present. Students can correct, rewrite, and improve in the moment, not after they've mentally moved on. Here's how it works. Before the assignment, teachers set the writing expectations, grammar rules, vocabulary requirements, banned low-level words, evidence, expectations, and more. When a student submits a post, the grammar gatekeeper scans it instantly. If expectations are not met, it pings them with constructive feedback. Students revise in real time. Then, when their writing meets the criteria, they get a bell chime and are approved to post. With every interaction, their writing skills sharpen. With every repeated success, their confidence grows. And because they're posting inside a discussion, every writing task has an authentic purpose. It's communication, not a worksheet. Teachers get two dashboards. First is the student-facing instructional dashboard. This is where teachers assign prompts, monitor discussions, and so much more. They can add sentence stems, vocabulary lists, and have access to our complete list of their subject grade level standards. This way, they can track which standards they've used and which ones they still need to focus more on. Second is the data tracking dashboard. This is where the magic happens. Chatter tracks writing errors, most frequently made, growth over time, vocabulary use, sentence complexity, off-task behavior, depth of interaction, number of corrections needed before posting, evidence integration, and last but not least, discussion length and quality. Teachers no longer have to guess who needs help and why. The data shows exactly where students are struggling and where instruction needs to shift. The whole system follows UDL principles by reducing unnecessary visual clutter, offering multiple ways to view data, and letting teachers customize the interface so it supports their workflow rather than overwhelming it. Administrators get the broader view that they need. Chatter aggregates district-wide data so leaders can identify where vertical alignment breaks down, which standards are actually being assigned, which teachers may need additional support, where writing weaknesses originate, which campuses are thriving or slipping, and whether instructional expectations are being met. This is not a gotcha tool. It's a support system. Instead of waiting for test scores to show the problems months later, districts gain early indicators of trouble and can intervene proactively. It becomes possible to support teachers before burnout and support students before failure. We aren't another platform to post assignments. Chatter is the assignment. The platform itself is what will spur the growth of your students. With Chatter, students are able to anonymously engage with one another, think deeply and critically about subject matter, and refine their writing skills with operant conditioning and targeted instant feedback, all within an environment that reduces cognitive overload. Because this cycle repeats across every class, every subject, and every grade level, it becomes a durable, informal learning habit. A learning habit that mirrors the way students naturally communicate and transforms passive receivers into active thinkers. If we are to truly help our students dig themselves out of the academic trenches that the last 30 years have led to, we need to do it in a way where we meet them where they are. We need to step into their digital world and learn to play the game by their rules. This is the power of Chatter. We are disguising learning to look like a familiar social experience so that students are not simply going through the motions, but are engaged and interacting with one another in a way they are accustomed to. We've given them the playing field, and your teachers will teach them all the plays. Now pass them the ball and watch how Chatter can help them win.